Ray-Ban Meta glasses come with open-ear audio, so you can listen to your favorite music without blocking out the world around you.
Hey Meta, play Gorgeous.
Here's Gorgeous by Doja Cat.
You can also ask Meta AI questions.
Hey Meta, when's Doja Cat's next concert?
Doja Cat is playing at the Los Angeles Theater next Tuesday.
Sweet.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses, available at Ray-Ban stores and other authorized retailers.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the five of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do?
I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault. A new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Non-binary listeners, ladies and gentlemen, heroes and heroines, crooks and crookians, Jethro Tull. The audio performance you are about to enjoy discusses casinos and gambling. We do not recommend gambling with money you cannot afford to lose or that is needed to pay bills. If you have a gambling problem, contact your problem gambling hotline. If you do not know how to contact your problem gambling hotline, send an email to help@casinocombat.com. We will find that number for you and provide it to you. Our hosts' past performances are not indicative of anyone's future results, including his own. All materials presented here are based on actual facts. Names and dates are changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. Events unrelated to outcomes may be omitted in the interest of brevity and clarity. The contents of this episode are the property of Volcano Dingo LLC. All rights are reserved. It's me, it's TRG, the Ramblin Gambler, just trying to make a living and doing the best I can.
Lyrics, dude. Recite him some lyrics.
So I took a journey through my life into the sea. With me went the teacher. And not in the way I would have predicted. Maybe we will talk about that some today. Welcome to episode 153 of our Casino Combat podcast. If this is your first time, I apologize in advance. I really do. This may not be the best example of what normally goes on here. Or maybe it will be. I'm not really sure. What we do here is teach, philosophize, and opine on the game of casino gambling, the pursuit of the oh-so-possible impossible. Truly, honestly, if this is your first time and you hate this episode, please try one more episode. Maybe jump back to episode 62 or 105 and see if you like that one. Because if you like that one, you'll probably like most of them. This one is going to be a bit atypical. If this is your next time, welcome back. Thank you as always for the gift of your time. And if this is your next time, you are probably thinking, what is he going on about? What is he rambling about? Originally, everything TRG said on an episode of our Casino Combat podcast was scripted, highly scripted. Well, with an occasional rambling aside, a little bit of a detour, but honestly, even some of those were scripted as well. Then sometimes, as things evolved, this would be a script plus some outlines, plus some notes, maybe a quick glance at a website. I just got back from a cruise. I'm on my way to see members of the squad near Las Vegas in just a few days. I'm on a quick turn. I am living that casino-enhanced lifestyle. I've got some scripts. I've got some notes and outlines. They're sitting right here. I was going to try to get an episode done while I was back. And as I went to run some errands, those things you've got to do when you get back, and especially when you're getting ready to leave again. So I had to go to the bank. I had to go to the post office and pick up the mail. I had all these things I needed to do. And I realized I want to talk to all of you about entirely different things than are in these scripts, notes, and all of that preparation stuff that I normally do. I really did. So I have no battle plan. I have no battle plan at all. We are going to get the segments as we get them and find out together as we go, find our way, meander about, and head to the VIP lounge to wrap this thing up. And I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. So before we get to the first segment, let me tell you something interesting. Let's do Around the Casino Combat Galaxy here, because a really interesting thing happened on this cruise. And if this is overly personal, sorry about that, but it was a really fascinating thing. I realized as I'm taking this cruise with some friends, a cruise that I'm going to tell you about in a little while here, I think, I realized that the line between TRG, the character, and the guy named Foznot that we're getting ready to go celebrate that wonderful Swiss tradition in just a little bit, that line kind of ceased to exist. The blur kind of fully happened. I stopped being the IT consultant who also does a podcast and really became the podcast professional gambler casino host who also does some IT consulting. I really did spend my time on the cruise kind of in a fully integrated TRG mode, and that was a bit unexpected, and that is a bit of a personal thing to share, but it really perhaps was a timely thing to have happen and to go through. It was really, really interesting and fascinating. This cruise was wonderful. Do we want to talk about the cruise? No, not yet. Let's not talk about the cruise yet. In fact, first, let's do TRG saying mean things, but this is going to be an educational mean thing. Stick with me on this one. I'll be right back and say some mean things.
That's really, 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 really not nice.
I have found cruise ship casinos and cruise brands to be an incredibly useful and effective gambling tool. If you've listened from the beginning, you've heard that evolve for me. You've gotten to take that journey. You've got to see that happen. You've gotten to go with me on that. But casinos in cruise ships are just such a wonderful, vital piece of the arsenal, a wonderful way to travel, a wonderful expansion to that country club, vacation club that pays you kind of idea. But I got something I have to say. I got something I got to share that I really don't like about cruise ship casinos. It gives me the ick, as kids today would say. I find it distasteful. I find it a little scary, a little nerve-wracking. It bugs me every single time it happens. Every single time the casino does this to me, I just feel a bit of dread. I just feel a bit of discomfort, and it's this. And I really wish that they would stop. I really wish that it would end. They hand out $50 bills at the casino cage. I take a slip up from a slot machine because they don't have bill changers on the floor because it's just a very small cruise ship, and that happens, and they count out a $100 bill, a $50 bill, a $5 bill, and a $1 bill, and hand me some change. And I'm looking at that $50 bill, and I'm thinking, why did you do this to me? Why do you have such bad manners? Why are you so inconsiderate of me as your guest that you would give me a $50 bill? And then I don't know what to do with it. I really don't. I often find an excuse to go up to the room, to go up to the cabin and open the safe and put that in the safe because I can't spend it to break it. Cruise ships that I've been on are cashless. You can pay your bill with cash at the end. You can put cash in a slot machine. You can use cash to buy chips at a table. But you can't just go up and say, oh, hey, buddy, give me a beer and throw down a $50 bill and get change back and not have that $50 bill. So they are rudely, inconsiderately sticking me with a $50 bill that I've got to find something to do with, and I don't like it. And I said this might be educational. You might be wondering why I just said all that. You might be thinking, what does this have to do with anything? What does this guy and his strange $50 bill phobia have to do with anything? It's this. And this is a two-part thought process. So stick with me through part one to get to part two. $50 bills in American casinos are to a high percentage, upper 90s percentage, regarded to be bad luck. Most casino cages do not hand out $50 bills. Most bill changing machines do not hand out $50 bills. It's almost universally accepted that no one wants $50 bills. I have seen, in fact, I will confess, I have been the man who gets up from the table because someone buys in with 50s and there's an empty table right behind him. I disassociate myself from $50 bills. And I've heard many explanations for why this fear and phobia exists. And the most common one, and the one I tend to believe, and I'll tell you why I believe it in a second, but the one that I tend to believe is that when Bugsy Malone was found dead, he had exactly 3 $50 bills in his pocket. And I have read and heard it surmised that it was because of this that casino cages stopped passing out $50 bills. And why would I believe this? Well, upon further review, I discovered that in fact it was a common procedure back in the day of the mobs that when they killed somebody and they didn't want the cops to look too deeply into why the murder occurred, they would take everything out of the victim's pockets except one or more $50 bills. A high denomination bill at that period of time in American history, a bribe if you will. But I noticed that most people not carrying those bills around, this was internal mob business, and perhaps the police should just go on about their day, document the situation, and not look further into it. I find that a believable explanation. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with gambling? I mean, it's an interesting little anecdote. It's an interesting little side note. No, it's not. It's about, for me, it is not that I am superstitious. I'm not. And it's not that I'm necessarily afraid of $50 bills, other than intentionally, purposefully. I follow the superstition out of respect for the game. I talk a lot about the idea that we play the game of casino gambling. And within that game, there's the game of hustle and comps, and there is the game of being able to wager well and control your emotions, the game of knowing odds and probabilities and the house advantage on this table versus that table, the how hard or soft the craps table is, how much bounce it has, how the house is going to interpret the dice hitting or not hitting the back wall, if the house will allow you to enter mid-shoe and bet more. All of those are aspects of the game of casino gambling. An art, a profession, a skill with a long history, and a skill with etiquette and traditions. And I like to follow those traditions, and I like to respect the game that I play. And part of that culture, part of that knowledge, part of that etiquette is, in fact, not handing out $50 bills. And I realize that's just the difference between American casinos and casinos other places. And I'm not holding international cruise ships to American standards. But the reason it bugs me, and that was all clearly intended in jest, it was intended to make a point. I went there to get here. I like to respect the game that I play, and I like to play it according to both the written and the unwritten rules, and behave within that structure out of respect. And I think it's also that respect for that structure that then leads to the professional control. It leads to the professional detachment. It's once again developing those rituals and totems, those things you do that put you within the headspace to actually kind of be in control of yourself and functioning as the professional gambler, not as the tourist. All right, what should we do next? Let's go and talk a bit and have a travel segment. Haven't done one of those in a while. Haven't done that one in a while. Not as obnoxious as it originally was, but maybe we need to change that. I don't know, maybe we need to change that. Let's do a travel segment. Let's talk a little bit about travel. I have not done the formal travel and results segments that I had traditionally done. I haven't done them for a while, and that's for a couple of reasons. The first is it started to feel redundant. It started to feel unnecessary as well. Early on, I felt a very strict obligation to do both travel and results and lay it all out in detail and go through the notes and rigidly document everything because I needed to demonstrate reality and truth and try to prove what many people thought was impossible, that one could in fact win the game of casino gambling. people reasonably do not believe that, and furthermore think you are trying to scam them if you tell them that. So I really did need to document everything, and I was very rigorous about it for about 3 years. And while I still keep my results very detailed, I think that's essential. I haven't been as repetitive in making sure I marked each month, and I'm not going to do that here today. I don't think I need to do that anymore. I'm not saying I won't ever. I may very well, but I don't think I need to anymore because I don't think I have anything I need to prove to the public, if you will. If somebody comes and says, I don't think you can do this, I think you're full of it, etc., 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 this isn't real, you're not telling the truth, I'd just say, let me put you on the phone with my guy Nakatomi Tony. Let me hook you up with Inner Circle member, East Coast emissary, PhD, fourth to the ring, and let you talk to him. Let me let you talk to Equine Ensign and have a conversation with him. There's plenty of verification and validation out there that living a casino lifestyle is possible. In fact, I would go so far as to say, I'm not even the best person at it that I know. I mean, if you ask me to list the people who are best at this that I know directly in my life, I'll make the top 10, but I'm not even sure I make the top 5. So I don't need to prove to you that it can be done because better people than me have done it. But I did want to talk about travel today, and that reminds me, I am flying without a net. So often when I record these podcasts, when I record these episodes, I will sometimes say, hey, T-Rex, if I forget to say blah, 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 remind me. And then if I do forget to say it because I did go off script or I got lost in the translation or wrapped things too early, when we get to the editing process, I'll get a note back and T-Rex will say, hey, you need to go back in the studio because you forgot to say this. And here's the timestamp where I think you could say that. And T-Rex is not going to get his hands on these recordings, not because I'm withholding anything, but rather because I just hit record and I'm just going straight through. We started and we're going to end. So, Nakatomi Tony, VCPD, if I don't talk about the teacher I learned from as part of this travel segment, if I get turned around, twisted, and sideways, let me know. Remind me, and in a future episode, I will talk about the teacher I met because it was interesting, the teacher that was revealed to me as part of going on this cruise. But let me talk to you about the travel piece of this. And this is something many of you are able to do or could do if you wanted to. We have wonderful friends that we've known for years. The female partner, part of the couple, taught with Mrs. TRG early in her career. They've remained friends the entire time. We've remained friends the entire time. We went to Vegas with them a little over a year ago and had a wonderful time. And as Mrs. TRG and I were then going on a cruise and getting our cruise offers, I said, it was fun going to Las Vegas with them, showing them Las Vegas kind of from our point of view as people who understand the city as both tourists, admittedly, and gamblers, of people who've been in and out of Las Vegas constantly and kind of know our way around. It was really fun going and vacationing with them and doing vacation things with them, but showing them the kind of knowledgeable gambler side of it. And as I was looking at offers, I said, we could take them on a cruise. We could gift them a cruise. And my wife said, well, okay, walk me through it. And I said, no, it's simple. We find a cruise that you have a comp on, and then find a cruise that I have a comp on, and we book your comp, of course through Premier Casino Hosting, but we book your comp through and have her as your roommate, and we book my comp through and we have him as my roommate, and no one's going to care when we get on the ship. They have one room, we have another, and we just enjoy the cruise together. And that sounded crazy. That sounded absolutely impossibly ridiculous that we could actually gift another couple a cruise, but that's exactly what we did. We looked and we found on one of our offers, and this was months and months and months ago, but we looked on our offers and we found a cruise where Mrs. TRG had an offer on her own without me of an interior cabin, and I had an offer all on my own for a balcony room on a cruise to Nassau and Coco Cay, leaving out of Miami. And we asked them if they were free and wanted to go, and they did. And I sent Michael Feldman a text, and I said, Michael, do I understand this correctly? Don't steer me wrong. I know you won't. Could I book this cruise this way? And I laid it out for him, and he goes, oh, sure. Do you want me to do that? And I said, yeah. And he had me gather some information about the other couple, put the reservations in, and we have a cruise on the books with some very dear friend of ours, and we have in fact given them a cruise, which is to say Royal Caribbean on our previous play had sent us an offer that allowed us to bring our friends on a cruise fully comped except for taxes and fees. Really, really, really a neat thing to be able to do. It's a part of the Casino Combat toolbox. It's a part of the Casino Combat arsenal. It's a part of the tools available to you as a skilled player of the game of casino gambling. It is living a casino-enhanced lifestyle. It's a skill that allows you to do things. It is the idea that we play a 50-50 game and we try to play it as close to even as we can. And if it's on the negative side of as close to even as we can, well, they make it up with comps and gifts. And if, in fact, no, it is on the positive side, which is to say we have a cash profit, then the value of the comp gets added to it. So we're playing a 50-50 game very close to even, and then taking the goodies and enjoying living a casino lifestyle in and out of casinos. Great cruise, wonderful version of Greece. Enjoyed the food, enjoyed the hot tub. We were on Independence of the Seas, which is similar to Liberty of the Seas, which we're going to be on August 2nd as a squad. If you would like to go, get in touch with me. Email me, trg@casinocombat.com. Spell combat with a K. We are going as a squad on a cruise to Bermuda for a couple of nights. Similar ship. Had a wonderful time. It was a great cruise. And I did some teaching in a really unexpected way. You see, this other couple, they're not gamblers. Had nothing to do with gambling that we invited them. They talked to us about Vegas because they had seen our pictures, our social media posts, the things we were doing, and they were living vicariously through us. And they said, we think we want to do the same thing. Do you have some pointers for us? Do you have some advice for us? I'm rambling. The point being, they are not gamblers. They saw our pictures about trips we took because of gambling, and they wanted to take the same trip. So they originally, if we start from the Vegas timeline, they paid for a room, we were comped. They saw that we were comped and what we got from being able to play a game well. They asked questions about playing that game well. That led to us bringing them on a cruise with us, not to encourage them to gamble, not to anything to do with gambling, to just have a vacation with our friends. And they understood that it was possible because of gambling, and they understood that as a result of that, some gambling needed to be done. And that didn't mean they needed to have anything to do with it, but they were going to have to give us some space each evening when the casino was open to, in fact, do some gambling. And they did some things on their own, but early in the cruise, they also spent some time hanging around. And as we went through the process, they're asking questions about gambling. They're asking questions about how this works. They don't know any of this. It's, what do the chips mean? Why did you do this? You waited. You didn't start right away. You waited for this and this to happen. Very analytical in how they watched and what they watched. Very dialed in on the questions they were asking. And we talked more and more. And then we'd go see a show, and then we'd go get a drink, and then we'd go visit the jewelry store, and then we'd do this, and then we'd end up having another conversation around something to do with gambling. Or we'd be in the hot tub, and someone in the hot tub would ask about the hat I was wearing and about the podcast, and in the point of talking about it, they're also listening. And so we get to a moment where we are supposed to go on an excursion. We're supposed to go on a glass-bottom boat excursion on Coco Cay, one that we'd already paid for. And because of the condition of the ocean being really rough that day and really churned up, that excursion was canceled. And the money was refunded in the way that it was purchased. And as we're finding that out, my friend says, oh, well, that's money that we already spent. So that's money that could be used then in the casino tonight. And now now I'm in that interesting role of teacher, of professor, because he then says, well, blackjack tables were $25. Is that right? And then we talk through the 6 to 5 and 3 to 2 and the fact that there are some $5 games at 6 to 5, but we really don't want to play those. And I ended up saying, if you want to gamble with $100 and you haven't learned basic strategy, and we have $25 tables as our best table choice, it is going to be easier to learn a game and learn to gamble. And this knocks my socks off, right? This surprises me. It's going to be easier for me to teach you on a $10 craps table. What an evolution. As I really go sideways on this is not what I plan to say. What an evolution that I'm actually saying craps is the best way for me to teach you because it's a $10 limit. The very idea when I started this podcast that I would be a craps instructor blows my mind. Absolutely ridiculous. If you'd have known me then and knew me now, and maybe you did if you've been along on this crazy journey on this podcast, but the idea that craps was the best way for me to teach someone, and then to be able to look at my wife and say, I'm going to put him here so that he and I can talk about this, and you make these bets instead of the bets you normally make, but you got this right. And she goes, oh yeah, I got this. That very idea that my wife is playing on her own without me really helping her or talking her through things. So we start talking through craps and answering questions about craps and then playing some craps together and taking him through things. And we had a nice win. And as we were wrapping up the cruise, I'm going to come back to some results pieces of this in a minute. I'll come back to some results pieces. But as we did, then the next day go to dinner, and he's like, so we're going to play again, right? And I said, I'm going to play again because that's part of what I need to do to make sure I can do this again. If you want to play, that's great. And his wife's like, he already taught you. He doesn't need to teach you again. And I'm like, no, I've kind of made it my life goal to teach anyone that wants to learn. And I'm not just teaching once. I said, and I'll be candid, I'm going to then turn this into content, and we're going to try to teach a whole lot of other people about this. But no, I didn't teach you just once. I'm happy to keep teaching as long as you think you have something you want to learn. And we played another great crap session, and now his play started to vary from what I had shown him. He started to do things differently and ask questions. His play had evolved in that little short period of time. So we have someone that over the course of the cruise got to know me directly well enough to actually see the process and see it happen and decide they wanted to try it and then vary from that. And I didn't have any intent of suggesting that they gamble. I didn't have any intent of trying to, pressure would be too strong a word, influence. I had no intention of trying to influence them to gamble at all in any way, shape, or form. I just answered questions and answered questions and answered questions and showed what I knew and taught what I knew, and they reached the conclusion it was something they wanted to try. And I taught them a specific game that suited their bankroll and the money that they had to put at risk. That was money they could afford to lose. That was not money they needed to pay bills. And they gradually learned a game with a very small house advantage. And they learned how to increase their bets after a win or series of wins and increase their bets after a loss or series of losses. And despite being very risk averse, saw that perhaps there was an opportunity here to develop a skill that would allow them to do some traveling like this. And we'll see. We'll see how that happened. I don't know if I never expected them to actually have an ADT, an average daily theoretical. I didn't expect them to ever have one. And they do. And we'll see on a couple nights of play, an hour and a half, at a $10 craps table, we'll see what kind of ADT they generate. We'll see what type of offers they generate. I won't be surprised if they don't get any. I won't be surprised if they do get some. Either one of those things is possible. And then here's the revelation, and then I'll do the results, and then we'll move on to the next thing. The revelation through all of this was that teaching someone else made me better. coaching someone else made me better at my game. It was so true. Having to break things down for someone with a strong mind, asking strong questions, and explain fundamental ideas, explain basic technique, explain basic blocking and tackling. No, we're not going to go to a $25 blackjack table if you're only willing to put $100 at risk. Here's a way to put $100 at risk so that even if part of the bets fail, other part of the bets can succeed and we can still get to a profit. Explaining all that, walking through all that, walking through what is ADT, walking through the process from A to Z multiple times, tightened up my game, tightened up how I saw things, made me better. I love telling parables, and that's been a really useful teaching tool. But it's also been one of those things that's revealed to me things I need to know about myself. Nakatomi Tony has said several times, this and this and this happened, and then this and this and this happened, and then I avoided the bear, and I knew what he meant. But I've also then had that same experience where I'm telling myself, don't forget, avoid the bear, that parable there. The process of teaching others reinforces things. And that leads me to a question that I have been pondering, and I'm going to just leave this here and move on. Not sure to what, but I'm going to leave this here and move on. Can you become a master at this wonderful game of casino gambling? Can you become a master if you don't have a student? What should we do next? Let's get away from the cruise for just a second. I promised I was going to do results. I am going to do results. As you know, got beat up a good bit and never found a recovery when we were in the Gulf Coast. When we were down in Biloxi, we got beat up, never had that recovery happen. I've had some good plays since then that I'm going to tell you about in the virtual VIP lounge. We're going to hang out as friends a minute. I'm going to talk there about some of the recent results, but we got beat up in Biloxi. And we got beat up more than the value of the comps that we were given. And it wasn't a lot of fun. And it wasn't something that I would prefer. It's something I'd prefer not to go through, and it happens. And when it happens, you document it and you learn from it. This cruise was the opposite. We never had a losing day. We never had a losing blackjack table. We never had a losing craps table. We probably, in some ways, played less than we normally would have because we won so well and so quickly. We came off the cruise with almost 4 days' pay in profits before expenses. After expenses, about a day's pay. But that says we went on a comped cruise. We also gave a comped cruise to our friends. On the cruise, we won the money to pay for the Wi-Fi, the tips, the excursions, the airfare, the Ubers, and the hotel, and we came back with a day's pay in profit. Now, I was gone a total of 4 days, and I'd have preferred to have 4 days profit after expenses, but not bad. Living a casino-enhanced lifestyle. Where's the enhancement? Well, we had a great time, and we saw great shows, and we ate great food, and we had fun with friends, and we hung out in hot tubs in 70-degree weather when it was minus 12 where we lived when we left, but we paid for all of the cost of going with winnings and had additional money to put toward retirement when we got back. And that is living a casino-enhanced lifestyle. That is a wonderful way to travel. And it was wonderful to have a teacher with me who allowed me to teach him and learn in the process. Next up, let's do a question segment, kind of a little palate cleanse, kind of a little break things up here. Let's do a questions my sons ask segment and answer a question that I've been asked a couple times, that I've seen asked online a couple times, and to lay out the rest of the battle plan now that's clear in my head. Then we'll adjourn to the virtual VIP lounge for some sips and some stories about the local gambling that I've been doing and some results there.
What?
Let's see, what's the bit here? My sons ask questions about gambling. Strangers ask questions about gambling. Sometimes I find gambling questions in groups and forums and discussions on the internet. When those questions are interesting, I try to come share those questions with all of you and share my responses and thoughts to the question. And here's the question that I see more and more. It's a question I've had myself. It's something I've pondered in my own mind. During the pandemic, change was allegedly scarce. And so many casinos went from handing out change in the bill breaking machines, in the kiosks that turn slot tickets into cash, to asking you if you would like to donate to charity your change, and then asking you which charity, sometimes amongst many, or did you want them to print you a slip which you could take to the cage? And so that leads people to say, in our language, should I buy the coffee? Should I just donate my change to charity? Sounds like a good idea. I don't want to carry all that change around anyway. I don't really care. Sometimes it's only a few cents. It doesn't matter. And there seem to be a couple of schools of thought. And one school of thought is, the house has a big advantage over me already. I'm not going to give away any bit of what I won or lost but have left over. I'm not donating my change to a charity because I need every bit of it to have any hope of actually ever winning. I respect that thought process. The other thought process is it's for charity, especially if it's a win, right? If you put $100 in a slot machine and walk away with $142.28, why not buy the coffee? Why not donate the 28 cents? It's to a good cause. I understand and respect that point of view. That makes a lot of sense. It really does. Here's my thought. Here's what I do. I'm not going to donate to charity on a kiosk, a charity of someone else's choosing, in this case, the house's choosing, unless it's just a very specific situation. One time on the way to the Uber stop to get a flight home from Las Vegas, it's like, oh, there's a machine we haven't seen the whole trip, and I love that machine, and I almost never see it. I'm gonna play. And you play, and we get to a win, and there's a change machine, and there's the Uber pickup station, and 10 minutes in the other direction is the cage, and the win was something .02. Okay, I'm donating it to charity to just streamline this process, to just move through things. It's either print the slip and put it here and see if anybody ever cashes it, or it stays on the house's books forever, or it's take the slip home as a memento, keepsake, and a bookmark, or donate it to charity. So there, I'm not saying I never have, but generally speaking, I don't make a donation to charity there. And I do that for a couple of reasons. The first being that I'm going to be in most of these casinos multiple times while I'm there, and if not, if it's local, I'll be back at this casino again. So even if I want to leave, I'll just take the slip with me, put it with my bankroll, cash it the next time I'm in, and I keep a large Crown Royal bag of change. Every time I come home, at the end of the day, the change goes in the bag. Eventually, the bag goes down to Casino 1, 2 hours south and east of our home. They take the change from the Crown Royal bag, they turn it into paper money. And of that paper money, I'd be free to make whatever charitable donations I wanted to make that were charities I like. So I have, as I often do, systemized the change process into something fairly efficient that serves a purpose. And so that's how I've decided to process mine. I don't make donations to charity in the casino. Charities I don't control. I process my change that way. And that way I'm taking everything that's mine out of the casino when I leave. And then here is the other reason I tend to not want to make that charitable donation that way. Everyone knowledgeable that I have talked to seems to agree that what happens is the casino takes the money and donates it. They make that donation saying, our guests asked us to make this donation. All true, all accurate, and a charitable deduction for the house, for tax purposes. For corporate tax purposes, you don't pay tax on money that you gave to charity. And some of that was money that they lost. So in many ways, you're getting them a tax deduction on their losings. It's convoluted. It's inconsequential. I confess it. But I just don't like the idea of the house benefiting from me deciding to give something that's mine to a charity. And I'd prefer to choose that charity, not have them choose it. And if there is a tax deduction to be had, I would prefer to have the tax deduction And as always, here's a disclaimer. Don't trust a gambling podcast host for tax advice. Consult a real professional. All right, let's adjourn to the virtual VIP lounge. Normally I say sips and stories. There'll be a story to get to the segment, but I think it's going to be more of a teach than a story. Let's go do that. I'm a little parched.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Welcome to the most must-listen to segment in casino lifestyle podcasting, the virtual VIP lounge. Our lounge is open, and we have the best virtual everything virtually all the time. The best virtual food and drink served in any virtual VIP lounge anywhere on the interwebs, guaranteed or your money back. As always, if you can, press pause, pour yourself something, have a drink with me today. Wish we could do it in person. We're going to get to do it in person, some of us in just a few days. I can't wait for that. Can't wait to do that. Just got off a cruise. Just have some orange juice to here today. No adult beverages. Got to take on that world. When you're an adult, it's no cliche. It's the truth. But clearly, please, if you can, pour yourself a single malt scotch. Pour yourself your favorite tequila, open a beer, join me in a drink, because what I'm going to do today is something that's very much in keeping with hanging out in a VIP lounge. Maybe with someone I know a little less consistently. Maybe with someone I only know occasionally. And discussing gambling, because that's often what gamblers do in VIP lounges. And I alluded to this a little bit earlier, a little bit at the start of the podcast. It's really interesting to me that just through the course of my life, I ended up getting involved in playing craps because of Gabriel's interest in playing craps, because of some of the limited inventory available to play blackjack during the pandemic, and then the change to strip limits to make blackjack less playable, to become a more well-rounded player, to become a more complete player, to become more of a master of the game of casino gambling, to have more tools in the toolbox, to have more weapons in the arsenal. I have gradually evolved and explored and played craps more and more, and made it more and more a part of my game and my process. Then I've had discussions with all of you in emails and messages, in communications that we've had, and many of you have kind of taken that journey with me. I've had people say, oh, I wouldn't know anything about craps except for what you told me, or I was playing craps the way you discussed in episode whatever, that's the way I always play now. And that's flattering, because what I do on a craps table is not particularly unique, brilliant, creative, clever. I haven't reinvented the wheel. I barely found the wheel. My wheel's not even completely round yet. So certainly I'm not saying do what I do because I thought of something brilliant. But you've said that you kind of are on that journey with me, and you like hearing about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and how it's evolved. And so I do feel somewhat an obligation to keep sharing that. I know those of you that are way ahead of me in the craps game, right? Those that can grade me on craps, people like SameBet, the YouTube star of the channel with the same name, people like Equine Ensign, who are experts at the game. Certainly, I think, take a kind of big brother approach maybe to it a little. They're looking at me and going, oh, look, he's kind of starting to figure it out. Oh, look at that. He finally started to get it. I suspect there's some of that there, and well-deserved and well-justified. So I'm not holding myself up as a paragon of the game of craps in any way, shape, or form. But I do want to take a few minutes today to share some additional evolving thoughts I've had, somewhat because a number of you have asked for it, either in email or in the form of conversations we've had in the Slack virtual VIP lounge. So how did we get to this evolution in how I'm playing a little bit? An expansion of how I'm thinking about this, a tweak, if you will. We got beat up in Biloxi. And it wasn't fun and it wasn't comfortable. And then I had a cruise coming up, and that's going to involve gambling to make sure I'm ready to go on the next cruise and play again. And then we had the event coming up at Sunset Station, and I'm looking at the bankroll and I'm going, it's a little less than great. It's a little not wonderful. And I'm talking about bankroll in its entirety. Funds available for gambling. Not necessarily the walking around money, but I'm looking at all that. I'm going, this is not exactly Meta Martingale. And if it doesn't work, oh well, who cares? We'll just move on with life. It's not exactly that right now. And if it is that, it's certainly not that in my local casino, because that I'm just there to pick up the gift card and the free slot play. And I'm going to play a little bit to justify my comp while I'm there. So I'm looking at the schedule and looking at the game. And I thought, what I really need to do, at least certainly over the next several weeks, in the time between returning from Biloxi and returning from Sunset Station, what I really need to do is I need to adjust my play and my outcome goals, my positive exit numbers. I need to adjust those a little bit and make them appropriate to the comps I'm receiving, which just is the idea that maybe I don't want to personally play the same way on Royal Caribbean and the same way at Sunset Station or Ocean in Atlantic City as I play locally. Because the Sunset comp is a much better and more important comp. And the Royal comp is a much better and more and more desirable comp. And the gift cards and the free slot play and the toaster oven are just part of my daily grind. And so I started thinking, okay, how am I going to do my daily grind? Maybe I'm going to lower my day's pay number a little bit. And I've got revenue, days pay revenue, work revenue coming from some other things now. And the podcast needs more attention. And the hosting clients need more attention. And the creative needs more attention. So maybe some time goes out of the local casino, comes back into my personal life. Maybe my win goal for the day goes down a little bit. I put less money at risk, but I still want to try to make some money. And I want time. And so as we do, if we're skilled at this, as we do, I sat in my office, which doubles as the Glorious Casino Combat Studios in parts unknown. I sat in my office and I said, what's the plan? You're back from Biloxi. You had a blast. Things went bad. It's really unusual. I'm going through the notes here. What's the plan that fits these objectives, that fit these goals? Time in the casino and justifying the comps I'm getting without putting a lot of capital at risk that isn't going to really get me anything more than I'm already getting. And so I decided it was going to be craps, not blackjack. And that I was going to not be trying to win as much, but I was going to spend more time because craps was going to take more time in terms of time on table. Because if you're just going to go, for instance, okay, I'm going to put less capital at risk. How am I going to put less capital at risk? Blackjack, I can take 10 units, $25 a unit, and either I'm going to fairly quickly win 8 to 10 units and be done and out the door, or I'm quickly going to lose 8 units and I'm going to be out the door. And I could do that, 4 or 5 days a week as I'm picking up comps and gifts and playing free slot play and doing all those other kinds of things. But it's going to resolve quickly most of the time and it's not going to generate very many tier credits. Or I could take that same $250 to a craps table and make it a buy-in. And particularly if it's a $15 table, which is often available locally, I got a little more room to work. I got a little more room to breathe. And even if I lose $200 of the $250, even if that money goes away, I'm going to generate tier points. I'm going to keep my comp level kind of running at the level I want it to, but it's because the process is going to take longer to resolve, win or lose, because the pace of craps is different. It's going to work out better from a comps and tier points of view. So my time in my local casino has become pick up the things that I'm there to pick up, do the things that I'm there to do, take a relatively small, modest, compared to the whole bankroll, buy in to the craps table and play. And I'm just trying to win $70 to $100. Nothing near a day's pay. Just trying to spend some time on the craps table, take risk appropriate to the comps, and do my local gambling a little more low-key, a little less money at risk, and just see how things go. And so I did that, between the time we got back from Biloxi and the time that we left to go on our cruise. Low stakes, grinder gambling, protecting the bankroll, and as a result, I refined and refined and refined the process of how I'm playing craps. And I got better and better and better at the game, in my never so humble opinion. My toss is still horrible. I'm still not happy with it. And I often throw 3-point fires, which means I'm throwing 15, 20, 25 tosses sometimes. And sure, I still have, establish a point and lose everything that I wagered. That happens, and I observe it happens to everybody, but I've become what I consider to be a moderately competent craps player, and to my surprise, as I said earlier, able to teach the game live to someone else while also running my own game. So what have I been doing? What's different? Having said all of that, having led into things, the place that I've been tweaking, and the tweak that I really think is the right answer for me, is this. And it's on the regressive side of what we talked about the last time we talked about craps. Refresher. Yeah, let me do a refresher. The last time I talked about craps, and I talked about it from the point of view of a core concept compliant craps process. I wanted to talk about the last time within the core concepts, and I continue to play craps within the core concepts. And if you don't remember which episode, email me, trg@casinocombat.com, spell combat with a K. I'll remind you of the core concepts episode of Casino Combat Craps. I will. But if you recall back to that episode, I'm making a $30 wager on the 6 as a place bet, $30 wager on the 8 as a place bet once a point is established. If either of those numbers hit, I'm dropping down to an $18 or even better $12 table minimum bet. I've got either a break even or a little profit, and then I'm pressing up and or out as things go along. And if I make my 2 place bets and Big Red immediately comes up and I lose the 2 $30 bets, I was making a $60 wager on the 6 and 8 on the next shooter, doing the same thing if I hit either number. And if it failed, I'm walking away. And that's my small negative loss, and I'm leaving. Completely Casino Combat core concept compliant. Boy, that's a lot of season case. I'm not sure how we spell compliant. We can figure that out. Here's the tweak I've been making to that process. I decided I like this a little better for me. If those bad things happen, if I make the place bet on the 6 and the place bet on the 8 after the point is established and Big Red comes out, instead of going a $60 6 and a $60 8, instead I'm going $25 on the 5, $30 on the 6, $30 on the 8, $25 on the 9. If people who've played the game with any regularity know the proverbial 110 inside. So I am going wide in my regressive wager. To put more money on the table after a loss, I am putting that money not on 2 numbers, but on 4 numbers, giving myself a wider range of ways to get that money reduced back down and then go forward. I want to recoup my wagers from the previous loss, and then I want to get back into betting after a win or a series of wins. So 110 inside, which is 5 and 9 at $25, 6 and 8 at $30. And now I'm looking to get paid twice. I'm looking to get paid on any number twice, any of the 4 numbers twice. And now I tell them to make my bet an $18 6 and an $18 8. My bets on the 5 and 9 go away altogether. I'm back to 2 numbers that are very likely to be thrown and thrown repeatedly. And I'm on the progressive side, which is to say when I win on the 6 and the 8, now I can add some money to the 6 or the 8. Or now I can add a wager on the 5. I've even, after the things I learned from the carbon fiber sequoia, I've often sometimes skipped the 5 and 9 to buy the 4 or the 10 for $20 and get the better payout if I happen to get an opportunity to get paid on those and then press some more. So the idea is we could regressively wager on craps in a core concept compliant way by going $30 and $30 or $60 and $60 when things went badly, or we could put roughly the same amount of money across 4 numbers and increase the chances that we can come back down. And when we come back down after hitting twice, we have a small profit and we have money in action on the table that we won, and we've recovered our buy-in and added to our win stack just a little bit. So that's the tweak I've mentioned that several of you have asked about. I wanted to get that in. It is the type of thing that if we were sitting in a VIP lounge and say, hey, you started to tell me the other day and then I had to go take a call and then you had to go do this. You were saying you tweaked your craps a little bit? I wanted to hear about that because I've been kind of playing the way that we would have had this conversation. And so I wanted to have that conversation with you today. I wanted to enjoy our time in the lounge that way today. If I'm going to see you, this is not evergreen content. If I'm going to see you in Las Vegas in just a few days, know that I cannot wait. I am looking forward to it. Please tip your waitresses, tip your bartenders, tip your dealer. If you have a host, tip your host. Don't tip away your wins. Remember your casino wisdoms, everyone. I have spoken. Everything you heard here is true from a certain point of view. In 10 years, we may find out I was wrong about all of this. It's time for leaving, and I hope you understand. I was born a rambling man. Love it, hate it, it don't matter. Please share with your family and friends. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you, as always, for the gift of your time. And, of course, the best part of the podcast is next, the Casino Combat Blues.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
For Atlantic City Empress, Casino Combat's ace.
There are profits in the casino tonight, I can feel it in my bones. I had a premonition, you should probably play alone. I know the house has an advantage, but that's part of the thrill. If we follow the core concepts, the chips begin to spill. So baby, here's your player's card, put your bankroll in your hand. Use just some of that money now, do it just the way we planned. Just follow the core concepts and you could win several grand. Well, it's good if it goes down like that, don't have to play to lose. It's gambling as a business, the Casino Combat Blues. Casino Combat Blues. The dealers and the pit bosses, the security and the law, the winning and the losing and the tricks nobody saw. No matter if it's blackjack, roulette, or craps, you gotta carry defense, cause you always carry cash. There's lots of shady characters, lots of dirty deals. Everybody has an alias, cause that's more fun we feel. It's the lure of winning money, it's got a very strong appeal. Perhaps you'd understand it better standing in my shoes. It's the ultimate enticement, it's the Casino Combat Blues. Casino Combat Blues. Whoa. Ooh. we don't need to go away. We can gamble in Atlantic City, we can gamble in LA, we can gamble out in Vegas. I mean, we're here to stay. Gambling's propping up the budgets of folks like me and you. You ask any casino manager, he'll say there's nothing he can do. From the pockets of the casino, right down to me and you. Me and you. It's a winning proposition and one you shouldn't refuse. It's just the core concepts, the casino combat blues. Casino combat blues.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.